Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a fun project for you today. Now, if you follow me at all, you know I like to cut stuff up, and that's what this is about. Let's take a look at this quilt behind me. Isn't this great? This is another one of our disappearing pinwheel blocks. So if you've never seen one of those, you're in for a treat. And if you've seen a bunch, this is another way to do it that just makes it really fun. We're calling this the disappearing double pinwheel because when you put the block together, it makes a secondary pinwheel as well as the little one that was planned. So that's really fun. So to make this quilt, what you're going to need is one packet of 10-inch squares, and we have used Hickory Road by Joe Morton for Moda, and you're going to need one packet of a background square. So there are 42 10-inch squares in these packs, and you're going to need a pack of the background square because each one of our layer cake squares is going to be paired with a background square. So you're also going to need a little bit of border yardage. This inner border is 3/4 of a yard, and this outer border out here, let's see, it's a big 6-inch border, and you're going to need 1 3/4 yards. For your backing, you're going to need 8.5 yards. That's a lot of backing, but this is a big quilt. Now, if you're going to use a wide back on this, you're just going to need around 3 yards because this makes a big quilt. It's 81 by 92. So let me show you how we do this, because this is so much fun. And again, if you've never seen any of these disappearing blocks, you just need to look them up because they're going to change your world. It's just so fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a background piece and a colored piece, right like this. Colored, we're going to put them right sides together. And I have these two actually ready to go. I've actually sewn one side because what we're going to do is we're going to sew all the way around the outside of this square. 1/4 inch, and we're just going to come over here and line up our presser foot and do that. So I'm just going to sew down like that right off the edge, turn it, and do all 4 sides. And one more. So now what we've done is sewn our 1/4 inch, and to be honest, the 1/4 inch isn't totally important. What's important is that you're consistent on all 4 sides. What we're going to do now is I'm going to heat up my iron, and I'm going to cut this diagonally both directions. So we're going to go line our ruler corner to corner like this, and then we're going to cut this way as well. So diagonally both directions, just like that. Then we're going to press these open, and this is going to give us 4 half-square triangles. So this is a cool method to make half-square triangles for all those half-square triangle projects. And I'm just going to line these up and press them open. There's 3, and this is 4. And I probably should have been setting my seam the whole time. We'll get one right? There we go. Setting the seam just relaxes the thread. That's all it does. All right, so now we're going to put this together in a pinwheel. And a pinwheel always goes light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark with all seams to the center. So we're going to go here. And that little mantra helps me so much because I look at that. Otherwise, I get all turned around. Light, dark, all seams to the center. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 up here and these 2 right here, and we're going to sew those together 1/4 inch right down the side. There we go. And we're going to do one more set right here. Right, we're going to keep them hooked together too because that will help us put our block together. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to check to make sure these are going the right direction still, and they are. But you know what? I want to show you something first. I want to show you how to get that perfect point in the center of your pinwheel. So right here, you'll notice these 2 threads crossing right here. You see those? So what we're going to do is when we sew 1/4 inch down here, as long as we stay on that cross or to this side of it, to the seam side of it, you're never going to lose that point because your point is right in here. So you just don't want, if you sew across here, you're going to lose your point. So right here where those threads cross, that's your wake-up call about, you know, don't go there, you know, don't go right on the cross or on the seam side of it. Now, to be honest, I have actually sewed my seam like this and then just veered out a little bit to make sure that I got the point in there and then press the heck out of it. So, you know, there's several ways to do this, and that's not probably the best way, but I want those points to be in there. So we're going to go over here to the sewing machine and we're going to sew 1/4 inch down this side, and I'm going to lift this up now and make sure that these two seams are nested together. And then I'm going to watch from where my crisscross is, and I'm going to sew right across there, and then I'm going to come down the other side. All right, now let's look at this and see how we did. Oh, good. It worked. Look at that. Look at that point in there. That's a pretty good point. I'm happy with that. And so now we're going to iron this, make sure that it's nice and flat. Now I like to iron from the front. And then if there's any like seams going the way that I don't like, which you can see. So this seam right here I can see is going to be a little rumply on the back. So I'm going to flip that over and I'm going to make that seam lay the way I want it to. And this one too. This one can go this way. And sometimes you just need a little shot of steam to help it. If this centerpiece part right here feels too bulky to you, you can iron that open. Mine, I think, feels okay. So once you get your pinwheel made, you're going to want to measure it because of your seam allowance, yours could measure a little different than mine. Mine measures 12 3/4, and you're going to divide that by 3. So I whipped out my phone calculator, divided 12 3/4 by 3, and it's 4 1/4. So now I know every block I want to be 4 1/4, and I can measure from the outside in, and it will work, but my outsides aren't always this perfect. So I like to measure from the center seam, which means we have to divide that measurement in half, and it's 2 1/8. But what I want you to do is make sure you measure your block, and then you're going to divide that by 3, and then half that measurement again if you're going to cut from the center. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 1/8 inches from that center seam on all 4 sides of the center seam. So we're going to make our first cut here. We're going to turn our ruler and do this. And I usually do this on a rotating mat. I don't know why I don't have one up here today, but it just, we're just going to go ahead and work our way around this square. And I'm going to make sure my ruler's on here. Oh, you know what? This is a really good point. If you kind of have a wonky center seam, you can actually cut this far and adjust your ruler to make sure that it stays on the 2 1/8, because all these squares are going to function independently of each other. So once you get all your cuts made, you're ready to put things together. And this is where the fun begins, because there's so many different ways to set them together. Recently we had a guild who wrote in and they said, look at all the ways we set this together. And this is one of the ways that they showed us. And so that's really fun to me. This is the block we're working on today. And let me show you how this fits into the quilt. When you put it into the quilt, it's going to go in just like that. You see how that fits in there? And you're really just going to sew them together, and then just by sewing them together, it makes that other pinwheel. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this the way it's set, and we're going to turn this one down. Our bar block is up. So one of the things when I start doing rote sewing, what I do is I know that all my bar blocks have to go out like this. You know, when I look at the block, I see that right away. So all the bar blocks go out from that center pinwheel. These corner ones are going to go, this one's going to go out and this one's going to go in. So they're both facing the same direction. These are both going to face the other direction. And that makes your block just like that. So then you're just going to sew these rows together, and these rows together, and it just makes this little block. So let me show you how to set these together, because it goes together super easily. Once you get your blocks done, you're just going to do the same thing I just did 42 times. And then we're going to set these together. And of course, there is more than one setting on this, but this makes it really fun. So let's look at the quilt and see how these are laid together. Okay, so see this right here? See this V? This lets me know that I'm going to turn my blocks. My blocks are going to go together opposite. So right here, they're going the same direction. I'm going to turn this until the V lines up. And so that's how they're going to go together. Every other one is going to be turned like that. So then we're going to do this right here, And this one's going to come down like this right here, and that's the beginning of your pinwheel. So you're going to have your V at the top, your V at the bottom. I have to have all those little things in my head so that I know I'm laying it out right. And so you're just going to do that like this, and there's your next little V right there. Now, the fun thing about this is it's 6 across by 7 down, so it makes a really good size quilt. And this is just another disappearing pinwheel. And we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the disappearing double pinwheel from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.